Hi everyone, welcome back to Speak Better Daily. I'm Maya, and today we're talking about something almost everyone does, sometimes without even realizing it, comparing our lives to other people's lives.
Hey everyone, I'm Ethan, and I'm really excited about this conversation because comparison can be surprisingly powerful. You can be perfectly happy 1 minute, then open your phone and suddenly wonder, why isn't my life like theirs?
Exactly. And that's what makes this topic so interesting. We see someone with a beautiful house, a successful career, a happy relationship, or an exciting lifestyle, and we start thinking that they have a better life than we do.
But here's the big question. Are we actually comparing our real life to their real life? Or are we comparing our reality to the version of their life they choose to show us? Because those two things can be completely different.
That's such an important point. Social media makes this even harder because we usually see people's best moments, not their problems, failures, stress, or lonely nights. We see the picture, but we don't see the whole story behind it.
And sometimes comparison goes even deeper. It isn't only about money or success. We compare our appearance, friendships, relationships, education, careers, and even how quickly we think we're achieving our goals.
So today, we're going to have an honest conversation about why people compare themselves to others, how comparison affects our confidence, and whether there's a healthier way to look at other people's success without feeling bad about our own lives.
And maybe by the end of this conversation, you'll realize something important. Your life doesn't have to look like someone else's life to be valuable. So, let's get into it.
Have you ever opened your phone for just 5 minutes, looked at someone's life online, and suddenly felt like your own life wasn't good enough? Maybe you see someone traveling to beautiful places, buying a new car, starting a successful business, graduating from university, or simply looking incredibly happy. At first, you might be happy for them, but then something changes inside you. You start asking yourself, why am I not there yet? And without realizing it, you begin comparing your life to theirs. The strange thing is that you may not even know that person. You might have never spoken to them, never met them, and know almost nothing about their real life. Yet one picture or one short video can make you question your own progress. That is the power of social media. It gives us a window into thousands of other people's lives every single day. But here's the problem. Social media usually shows the highlight, not the whole story. You see the expensive dinner, but you don't see the financial stress behind it. You see the perfect couple, but you don't see their arguments. You see someone celebrating success, but you don't see the years of failure that came before it. You see the destination, but you don't see the difficult journey. And this is where comparison becomes dangerous. We start comparing our ordinary moments with someone else's best moments. We compare our behind the scenes with their highlight reel. We know every mistake we have made, every problem we are facing, and every goal we haven't achieved yet. But when we look at another person, we usually see only what they want us to see. Imagine waking up in the morning feeling completely fine. You have your plans, your goals, and your own life. Then you check your phone. Someone your age has just bought a house. Someone else is traveling around the world. Another person has started a successful company. Someone you went to school with has a great job. Suddenly, your own achievements don't feel as impressive anymore. But wait, did your life actually become worse in those 5 minutes? No, nothing changed. Your situation didn't suddenly become less valuable. The only thing that changed was what you were looking at. That is something we often forget. Another person's success does not automatically mean your failure. Someone getting ahead doesn't mean you're falling behind. Life isn't a race where everyone has to reach the same destination at the same time. Think about two people planting trees. One tree may grow faster because it gets more sunlight. Another may grow slowly because of the soil, the weather, or the environment. Would it make sense to look at the first tree and say, my tree is a failure because it isn't growing at the same speed? Of course not. People are similar. We have different backgrounds, opportunities, responsibilities, talents, and challenges. Yet we often expect ourselves to have the same results as people whose lives we know almost nothing about. We don't know how much support they received. We don't know their financial situation. We don't know their family circumstances. We don't know how many opportunities they had, and we certainly don't know what happens when the camera is turned off. Another problem is that social media can make success look extremely easy. Someone posts, "I started my business 6 months ago, and now it's successful." We see the 6 months, but we don't see the 10 years of learning, failure, saving money, studying, and working that may have happened before that. And when we constantly see these stories, we can develop a dangerous feeling that we're late. We start thinking, "I'm 20 and I haven't achieved enough," or "I'm 25 and I should already be successful," or "Everyone is moving forward except me." But who created these deadlines? Sometimes nobody did. We created them ourselves by watching other people's lives. The truth is, there is no universal schedule for success. Some people achieve their biggest goals when they are young.
Hi everyone, I'm Ethan. Let's talk about something that quietly affects almost everyone: success, money, and the feeling that we are falling behind. Have you ever looked at someone your age and thought, how did they get so far ahead while I'm still trying to figure things out? Maybe they have a successful career, a nice car, a beautiful house, or a business that seems to be growing every day. You look at their life, then look at yours, and suddenly you feel like you're not doing enough. One of the biggest reasons people compare themselves to others is the way we define success. We constantly see promotions, expensive lifestyles, graduation photos, successful businesses, and people celebrating major achievements. After seeing these things again and again, it becomes easy to believe that everyone else is moving forward faster than we are. But here's an interesting question. What does success actually mean? Is it having more money, a better job, a bigger house, becoming famous? Or is it having a peaceful life that you are genuinely proud of? Imagine two people. One earns a huge amount of money but works 14 hours every day and barely has time for family or friends. The other earns less but has time to sleep well, spend time with loved ones, and enjoy life. Which one is more successful? There isn't always a simple answer. That's exactly why comparing ourselves can be so confusing. We often judge our own lives using somebody else's definition of success. Money makes this even more complicated. When we see someone buying expensive clothes, traveling frequently, or driving a luxury car, we may automatically assume they are happier and more successful. But money can show us what someone owns. It cannot show us how they feel when they are alone. A person can have a beautiful house and still feel unhappy inside. Someone can have thousands of followers and still feel lonely. Someone can look incredibly successful online and secretly be dealing with stress, debt, fear, or uncertainty. The problem is that we compare what we know about ourselves with what we can see about someone else. We know our doubts. We know our failures. We know how difficult our journey has been. But we usually see only the final result of another person's journey. Think about an athlete standing on a podium. You see the medal, the celebration, and the smile. You don't see every early morning workout, every injury, every defeat, and every moment when that person wanted to quit. The same thing happens with careers and businesses. We see someone becoming successful, but we don't see all the years they spent learning, failing, starting again, and improving. And sometimes, the person we compare ourselves to may have started with advantages we never had. Maybe they had financial support from their family. Maybe they had better education. Maybe they met the right person at the right time. Maybe they simply had an opportunity that we never received. That doesn't mean we should feel jealous or give up. It means we should understand that everyone's starting point is different. Instead of asking, "Why am I not as successful as that person?" ask yourself, "Am I more successful than I was last year?" That question changes everything. Maybe you don't have the perfect career yet, but you're learning. Maybe you don't have a lot of money yet, but you're building skills. Maybe you haven't achieved your biggest dream, but you're moving closer to it. Progress doesn't always look impressive from the outside. Sometimes progress is simply waking up every day and continuing when things are difficult. So don't let someone else's success make you feel like a failure. Let it remind you that success is possible, but create your own definition of success. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't to have a life that looks better than someone else's. The goal is to build a life that genuinely feels.
Hi everyone, I'm Maya. Let's talk about something very personal. Why we compare our relationships to other people's relationships. Have you ever looked at another couple and thought, why doesn't my relationship look like theirs? Maybe they constantly post romantic pictures, surprise each other with expensive gifts, travel together, or seem incredibly happy. Then you look at your own relationship and suddenly start wondering if something is wrong. This is one of the most dangerous forms of comparison because relationships are deeply personal. What works for one couple may not work for another. Yet social media can make us believe that there is a perfect relationship that everyone should have. You might see someone receiving flowers every week and think, my partner never does that. You might see couples traveling together and think, we don't have a relationship like that. You might watch a romantic video and suddenly start questioning feelings that were perfectly fine before you opened your phone. But here's what we don't see: the private moments. We don't see their disagreements. We don't see their misunderstandings. We don't see the difficult conversations. We don't see the days when they are frustrated with each other. We usually see the moments they choose to share. And that's where the comparison becomes unfair. You're comparing your complete relationship with all its good days and bad days to a carefully selected collection of someone else's best moments. Another problem is that people have different ways of showing love. One person might express love through gifts. Another might show it through support. Someone else might spend quality time with their partner. Another person might simply be there when things become difficult. So if your relationship doesn't look like someone else's, that doesn't automatically mean it's worse. Sometimes we also compare the speed of our relationships. You see someone getting married, having children, buying a home, or building a life together, and you start thinking, why hasn't that happened to me yet? But relationships don't follow one universal schedule. Some people meet their partner at 18. Others meet someone at 35. Some marry quickly. Others take years before they feel ready. There is no competition. The pressure becomes even stronger when friends and family start asking questions. When are you getting married? Why are you still single? Everyone else is settling down. These questions can make people feel like they are behind in life. But being single doesn't mean you're failing. Being in a relationship doesn't automatically mean you've succeeded. And getting married doesn't guarantee happiness. What matters is whether the relationship is healthy, respectful, honest, and meaningful, not whether it looks impressive to other people.
Hi everyone, I'm Ethan. Let's talk about something that comparison can quietly destroy. Self-confidence? Have you ever walked into a room feeling confident, then noticed someone who looked more successful, more attractive, more intelligent, or more confident than you? Suddenly, you started questioning yourself. Nothing about you had changed, but the way you saw yourself changed instantly. That is what comparison can do. It can make you focus so much on what other people have that you completely forget what you have. Sometimes we compare our appearance. We look at someone with perfect skin, a great body, expensive clothes, or a carefully styled appearance, and we start criticizing ourselves. We forget that many of the images we see online are edited, filtered, carefully selected, or taken from the best possible angle. We also compare our intelligence. Maybe someone speaks English more fluently, gets better grades, understands something faster, or seems incredibly knowledgeable. Instead of thinking, I can learn from this person, we think, I'm not good enough. But being slower at something doesn't mean you're incapable. Everyone learns differently. One person's strength may be another person's weakness, and your weakness today could become your strength tomorrow. Comparison can also affect the way we see our personality. Maybe someone is naturally outgoing, funny, and comfortable talking to strangers, you might be quieter and more reserved. Then you start thinking there's something wrong with you. But confidence doesn't always mean being the loudest person in the room. Sometimes confidence is being comfortable with who you are, even when you don't have everyone's attention. The biggest mistake is believing that confidence comes from being better than other people. It doesn't. Real confidence comes from knowing that you don't have to be better than everyone else to have value. Think about it. If your confidence depends on being smarter than someone, what happens when you meet someone smarter? If it depends on being richer, what happens when you meet someone richer? If it depends on being more attractive, what happens when you meet someone you think looks better? Your confidence will always be under threat. That's why comparing yourself to others can become an endless game. There will always be someone who has more money, more followers, better grades, a better body, a bigger house, or more achievements. But there is only one person you can genuinely compete with, the person you were yesterday. Instead of asking, am I better than them? Ask, am I becoming better than I was before? Maybe last year you were afraid to speak English, and now you can have a conversation. Maybe you couldn't manage your money, and now you're saving regularly. Maybe you were afraid to start something, and now you've finally taken the first step. Those small victories matter. You don't need millions of people to recognize your progress. You need to recognize it yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Maya. We've talked about social media, money, success, relationships, and confidence. But now comes the most important question. How do we actually stop comparing our lives to other people? The first step is to understand that comparison itself isn't always bad. Sometimes, seeing someone successful can motivate us. It can show us what is possible and encourage us to work harder. The problem begins when inspiration turns into insecurity. If you see someone achieving something and think, I want to learn how they did that, that's healthy. But if you think, they have a better life, so my life is worthless, that's when comparison starts hurting you. Another powerful step is to reduce the amount of time you spend watching other people's lives. You don't have to delete every social media app, but you can become more intentional about what you consume. If certain accounts constantly make you feel unsuccessful, unattractive, poor, or behind in life, ask yourself why you're still following them. Your attention is valuable. Don't give it to content that constantly makes you dislike your own life. The next step is to create your own definition of success. Maybe success for you isn't becoming rich or famous. Maybe it's becoming educated, supporting your family, building a business, becoming financially independent, having good relationships, or simply becoming a better person. Once you know what matters to you, other people's achievements become less threatening. You also need to remember that life is not a race. Someone may achieve something at 20 while you achieve it at 30. Someone may become successful quickly while you need more time. Someone may find their purpose early while you spend years discovering yours. Being late according to someone else's timeline doesn't mean you're late in your own life. And when you feel behind, don't look 10 years into the future and panic about everything you haven't achieved. Look at the next step. Ask yourself, what can I improve this week? Maybe you can read a book, learn a skill, save some money, exercise, study English, apply for a job, start a project, repair a relationship, or simply become more disciplined. Small improvements may not look impressive on social media, but they can completely change your future. Most importantly, learn to appreciate your own progress. Look back at who you were 2 or 3 years ago. Are you stronger? More knowledgeable? More responsible? More confident? Have you learned from your mistakes? If the answer is yes, then you are moving forward. You don't need to have everything figured out today.